Alright guys, welcome back. In our last video, we did EDA in SQL. Alright, so this is what it looked like. This is our EDA in SQL. We did a lot of things on bank data sets, which we talked about customer table and transactions table, and we did something on our top 5 and our top 5 with positive influence and top 5 with negative influence. So today we're just going to go visualize all of these things in Power BI so the stakeholders can understand better. So now we're in the Power BI interface. The next thing we want to do is to get our data, but now we're not importing any data. We want to connect straight from the Power BI so that when there are updates or changes in the database, it can also reflect in Power BI. So in order to do that, we're just going to come to here, SQL Server, and you can see you're asked for your SQL Server database name. Okay, what you can do is to come back to SQL, come to connect, and just copy your server name here, just Ctrl C. Okay, so I'm going to go back to my data and just paste this, and now my server name is there. You can decide to put the database name if you want. It's optional, but you can just do that. So this is our database bank project. So let's just copy that and put. Okay, so now we have bank projects, but we don't want to import, as we said. We want to query directly. Okay, so we're just going to put direct query, and we're going to hit OK. So this will try to connect to our database in SQL. Please remove the bracket here. Make sure there are no brackets in this bank project. Okay, so let's just click OK. Now you can see this is asking us to use our current credentials, or if you want to create an alternate credential. We're just going to connect like that. And now we can preview our bank data. As you can see, this is what we have, right? And we can also look at our customer table. We can preview our customer table. So let's just load that in. Okay, so this has been loaded in. FYI, when you're working with direct query, you're not going to have any table view. So all you would have is report view and model view. Okay, so when you take a look at model view, you can see your bank data set and your customer data set, but you need to form or create a relationship, and what you can use to create that relationship is your customer ID. This is very important. This is very important so that you can get the best analysis. So I'm just going to drag this to customer ID here, and the relationship would be created. As you can see, we have created our relationship with the customer table and the transaction table. Okay, let's go back to our report view. Let's take a look at our data set. So a few things we want to do, but first let's just get a measure table so that we can just write any measures we want. So just name this measure table and load that. We want to build our daily report for the 29th of August, just as we did in our EDA in SQL. Okay, so now to do that, let's just come to our measures table here, hit your measures table and just come here. We are going to write a measure that is going to give us the sum of transaction amount on that particular day. Then we're going to write another one that will give us the credit, another one that will give us the debit, and then another one that will give us the net value, just as we did in our EDA. Okay, so now to start, let's just write the total sum. And for this total sum, oh god, this was a mistake. Let me start again. Then we're going to use the In order to go down, press the Shift and Enter key. So we're going to use the SUMIF function, SUMX function rather. So this is going to iterate all through to come down, and we're going to use the filter function in order to filter our date. So this, for the filter function, you're going to see the table name is required, and then the filter expression is required. Then our table name is bank transaction table. You're going to put a comma, and our filter expression is what? Bank transaction table transaction date. We are filtering the date, don't forget. So if this transaction date is equals to, we're just going to use the date function here, right? And it's going to provide us with the year, the month, and the day. So if it's equals to 2023, the month is what? 08, and the date is what? 29 for our report, right? We're going to cover that. We're going to close that that bracket. We're just going to use another bracket to, cover up the filter function, and we're going to put equals to. So now what is our expression? Where do we want this SUMX to iterate through? We want it to iterate through the bank transaction amount. Okay, so we're just going to put our last bracket, and this is actually it. So what we're saying is that we want our date to be filtered to this particular date, sum all the transaction amount or the transactions that was made on this particular date. So that is just basically what this is saying. So let's hit enter to get our total sum. I'm going to delete these two things. Okay, so now we have our total sum. So let's just bring in our card here so we can visualize this. You're going to just drag your total sum here, and you can see what we got in transactions on that particular date, 29th of August, is 1.07 million. Okay, so now let's look at our credit transaction and our debit transaction. And honestly, it's not so hard. Let us just go back to our total sum. So we're just going to copy this thing because we're also going to be filtering by that date. All right, so now let us create a new measure. So I'm just going to paste that measure that we wrote, but the only thing we're going to do now is to add another filter, because we are filtering by date, and now we want to filter by the transaction type, so that we're going to get the one that is debit and the one that is credit. So now what we're just going to do is we're going to bring this down a bit. So Shift and Enter. Okay, so the next thing we're going to filter by is the transaction type, as I said. So we're just going to write bank and the transaction type. Okay, and we're going to say if the transaction is equals to credit. This is case sensitive, so please make sure it is every single kind of case that you use. Okay, and the next thing we want to use is this, and that is all for our credit transaction. Now let's hit enter so we can visualize this. Oh, the name has been used, sorry. I am going to change that name. Let's say total credit. Hit enter. So the next thing we want to do is to get another card, right? Let's just put that here and get the total credits. And this is what our total credit is. Now to clean this up a bit, I'm just going to come here and reduce the auto to 1. So quickly, let's go copy all of this. It's not going to be hard anymore. Get a new measure, and we're just going to paste this. But the thing we're changing now is we're changing the debits. We're changing the credit to debit, and we're changing our name to total debits. Okay, so this is about it. Hit enter. and let us see what our total debit is. Can you see? This is what our total debit is. Okay, so I'm just going to hit here, so I make this thing one decimal place. Okay, so this is what we have now. The next thing is the net profit. The net profit is the difference between the total credit and the total debit. So that one is easy, just the way I said it is how we're going to write it. So let's just say net profit or net value, whatever it is. Total, you can see total credit, you can just use the minus sign, total debit. All right, and that's about that. Hit enter. Let's get another card. And now we can see every single thing that our stakeholders might want to see. Okay. Alright guys, so let's get our top two with positive influence and our top two with negative influence. That's basically what these two boxes are going to do for us. So what we're just going to do is we're going to come to the visual and let's just get a table. Okay, so let's fit this table in. Alright, so now what do we want to see? We want to see the customer that has the highest, right? So let's get our customer name. We want to see the customer with the let's look at the total sum. Then we're going to take a look at the total credit and the total debit, also the net profits. So if you notice, everything filtered by this particular date because that's what this measure is working with. If you remember, we filtered all these things by this particular date that we're working with. All right. So now this is it, but we're looking for the top positive. All right. So we don't need this minus. What we can do here, and also because our data set is small, what we can do here is just to come to the net profit here and filter this. Can you see this is filters? So come to the net profit here. Then you will say, show items when the value is, and I'm just going to say I want this to be filtered when the net value is greater than 0. And I'm going to apply this filter. So now we can see our top 2. The customer with the minus sign is no longer here. So let's quickly format this. This title will be our top 2 by positive influence. So this is what we are looking for, top 2 customers with positive net value. Now let's go to the negative and see. So I'm just going to copy this and paste it, and I'm going to drag this here. So now that we're here, let us go and see our top 2. That's if we have up to top 2. So we're just going to go back to the net profits, and we're going to say show item when it is less than, the positive one we did when it is greater than. So this one we're going to be doing when it is less than 0. So we're just going to hit apply filter, and we can see this sign, right? So this is just top 1 because we had just 3 customers that transacted that day. So let us format this. Okay, so this is about it. The next thing we can do is just to format these things. So let's just try to do that together. Let's go to headings. Where is heading? Okay, column header. Let's just make that bigger. I'm going to turn off the totals. So now that I've formatted here, the next thing I'm going to do is just to hit this, and I'm just going to go to format painter and come here, so everything formats. That is the beauty of format painter. You don't have to do it twice. So let's just go remove our total, turn off the total. Okay, so I think this does look a bit better. The next thing we're going to do is just to write some notes for our stakeholders. We want to believe this is a daily report. That means you did something yesterday, right? So now you're going to check, was the transaction of yesterday more than the transaction of today? Okay, so let's say yesterday's transaction was 1.06, right? So we can just say the total sum increased from 1.06 M on 28 August 2023 to 1.07 M on 29th August 2023. So you can also decide to make this in a percentage that we saw a 1% increase from yesterday's total sum to today's total sum, from yesterday to today's total sum. So it depends on how you want to put it. Then you can also come down here and talk about the total credit. You can say, oh, the total credit reduced and the total debit increased. Do you understand? And then our net value increased or something like that. So those are the things you can actually write to just, be here. So let me just write that. So we've been able to write that down so that our stakeholders can see that. I'm just going to come and turn off, make this transparent. So it just blends in. All right. So this is our simple dashboard. This is like the highlight of what we analyzed, and this could be a report that a stakeholder wants to see, because to be honest, these people don't ask for much. They just want to know their total sum, the total credit they have on that day, the total debit, and net profit. All right. So I did not write net profit here. Let me write that. If you want, you can decide to customize this by, putting a color here so that they will know that, oh, it was a decrease or an increase. So let's like use red to show a decrease. Okay. Okay, and then let's use green to show increase. Hi guys, I know this looks a bit different now, so I went ahead to get the transaction volume, that is the number of people that transacted, and I actually changed this to like total value, credit value, debit value, and net value. So when you want to do your dashboard, data storytelling is really important. How do you want your stakeholders to read your dashboard? Do you understand? It has to tell a story. So for this daily report now, we'll start by telling them these are the number of people that transacted on that particular day. This is the volume of the transaction from the three of them. This is the credit value from this transaction. This is the debit, and this is the net value. Then we'll tell our top two positive and our top negative. Then you decide to write all of these. So that is it about this dashboard. This is just a simple, straightforward dashboard. So in the next video, what I will be showing you here will be how to automate every single thing here, in the sense that, for example, this date that is being written here, 29/08/2023, we won't have to be manually changing it. We have to automate it in such a way that when it gets to the next day and it refreshes, it's going to change to the current day's date. All right, and we're going to also automate it in such a way that all these values will be changed to the current day's date. Right, we're also going to automate this total value increase. Every single thing we wrote manually here is going to be automated. Now everything will change by itself when it refreshes. All right guys, thank you for sticking around.